So, kind of in the spirit of Dear Evan Hansen and how he's supposed to write letters to himself, as you see in the trailer, and if you've probably seen the stage play, I decided that to kind of get some thoughts down about the movie, I decided to write a little letter myself. So, just some thoughts about the movie and how I felt while watching it. So, Dear Evan Hansen, today wasn't that great. Why? I saw your movie. It left me perplexed, cringing, angry, and annoyed. You have a lot of ambition, but a whole lot of problems. Problems that I don't think you're ready to address. Problems that might not work in a movie. Not just casting 20-something people as high schoolers, but how you actually address these issues. How was the musical? Was it as insane as this movie? You're insensitive, misguided, and probably dangerous. Get help. You need it. Sincerely, me. As you can tell, I didn't really care for this movie. So, Dear Evan Hansen is directed by Steven Chbosky, and it stars Ben Platt, Julianne Moore, Amy Adams, Caitlin Dever, Amanda Stenberg, and it's about this 20-something, not really, it's about a high schooler played by a 27-year-old who basically has all these issues. He has anxiety, he has depression, he has a broken arm too, so that doesn't really help. And he writes letters to himself as a thing for his therapist. And so when a kid who often is like bullied and kind of an outsider, he steals the letter. Eventually the bully ends up killing himself, and the bully's parents think Evan Hansen was his friend because their kid wrote a letter to him, which is actually the letter he wrote to himself, and also because the kid also signed his name on his cast when no one else did. So now they think Evan was his best friend, and Evan becomes this figure for a lot of people, and basically inspires a lot of people, and yeah. So I knew that this was a musical. I had no idea what the musical was about, so I didn't really look it up, and I've never seen the stage musical, obviously. But, like, I was interested only because I knew that Steven Chbosky directed this. He did The Perks of Being a Wallflower. He also wrote that book. So I was already interested. So it's like, oh, it's like Perks of Being a Wallflower, the musical. Not the best way to, not the best movie to put as a musical, I'll say. And he did the movie Wonder, which I thought was just okay. So it's like, okay, so he'll move on to Dear Evan Hansen, which is kind of more in his wheelhouse with, like, themes and such. And then, like, all these reviews came out. They weren't that strong. And it's like, they mostly just criticized the whole casting of Ben Platt, where it's like, okay, I get it. And I'm going to make jokes about it, too. But I get it why they casted him in the role, because he originated the play on Broadway. So I guess it makes sense. And in the trailer, it's like, okay, he kind of looks awkward enough. It's like, he kind of look like a high schooler enough. And I kind of let that go because of what happens in this movie. And yeah, this movie is bad. Like, as bad as that whole thing is with the whole 20-something-year-old as the main lead in a high schooler movie, as a high schooler in this movie, there are so many problems with this movie that it's just awful. It's so bad. I hate this movie. I really, really do. Honestly, there aren't too many pros, so let's just get them out of the way. Some of the performances are fine. Caitlin Dever's fine. Amanda Stenberg's fine. They're probably the two best. Amy Adams, like, she reminded me a lot of Mary Tyler Moore in Ordinary People, if you've ever seen that movie. Probably not. And those are probably the best performances in the entire movie. Some of the songs, they're fine. They're sung well. Also, they address several issues, which, you know, aren't really normal for a musical. And there are some moments where it's like, I admittedly kind of relate to that. Like, I remember being at that stage. I remember being when something similar like that happened to me. But other than that, pretty much everything else about this movie is bad. Oh my god, where to begin, really? Like I mentioned, the movie does address a lot of issues. Like, it addresses suicide, it addresses how people react to it, it addresses depression, and it handles, like, it tries to has all these issues, but they're all surface level. They never really dive deep into anything. It's just, we're addressing this, and we'll do something about it later, and they never do anything about it. They also have so many subplots in this movie that they just drop a bunch of them throughout the entire movie. Like, there's this whole subplot about Mandela Stenberg. That's dropped for another subplot involving her. There's also a subplot involving Evan Hansen's dad, who doesn't appear. And it's not even addressed. It's just random. It just doesn't really feel like it works. And even though it addresses all these things like depression and suicide, nothing really comes out of it, unfortunately. And pretty much every other main character in this movie is just awful, just horrible. Like, at first you're kind of sympathetic towards Evan Hansen in this movie because, you know, he has all these issues and clearly he just feels alone. And the more and more that he lies, the more and more annoyed I got with him. Like, every time he lied, I was just annoyed. Like, at some point I was just thinking, dude, just stop. Just stop. And he just doesn't. I have no sympathy for his character whatsoever. And a bunch of the other characters too, like he has this friend, kind of, he's like a family friend, but he's also awful. Like, I don't know if it's like as awful as Evan Hansen, but he's really bad. Like none of the performances are bad. Even like Ben Platt, who I thought was fine in this movie, he's fine. Like, there's no bad performance in this movie. There's just horribly written characters. Like, his friend is just annoying. He won't even sign his cast, which is like, some kind of friend you are. And he keeps saying, I'm not really your friend, I'm just family friend. It's like, dude, can't you just be kind? Just once in a while. Also, Julianne Moore's mom, she's awful. She works a lot, and only in the last 20 minutes does she actually say, oh, I didn't realize you were hurting. I'm sorry. I'll do better. Thanks. Could have done that sooner. Oh well. And as far as the musical numbers, now, when I reviewed the trailer, someone commented, oh, this is a musical without any musical numbers. So it's like, obviously someone like me who lives in the middle of nowhere, obviously I didn't see the musical, so I didn't know that. But as far as the actual music goes, it's just so boring after a while. Like, I couldn't remember most of the songs in this movie. And even something like In the Heights from earlier this year, I remember listening to that music and still thinking about that music. I love the songs, the musical numbers, they were all really good. Even something as bonkers as Cats, I remember. Even something like Music, which had insane musical numbers, I remember. I'm not going to remember most of the songs from this movie. The only song that I do remember is this one where Evan Hansen is imagining, like, he and his friend are writing letters, and he's imagining what a friendship would have actually been like with this kid who committed suicide. And it's in such poor taste compared to the rest of the movie. Like, it's played for laughs when you kind of just realize, this is just awful. This is just a horrible thing to do. This is just really insensitive. And I'm like, why would you do this? Oh my god. And moving on to the tonal shifts, yeah, there's a lot of tonal shifts in this movie that are just awkward. A lot of things in this movie are just awkward. Oh my god, like, there's like a funny scene, and then there's a scene where Evan Hansen is sick and he starts throwing up, and then it's followed by a scene where he's talking to the stepdad of the kid who committed suicide. Oh my god, it's so awkwardly edited that way. And I'm like, what are you even doing right now? It just didn't work for me at times. It was so annoying, and again, Evan Hansen is just so unsympathetic, and at times really creepy too. Again, 27-year-old, but I think all the main high school kids are played by 20-something actors, so yeah, it's just really bad. It's just, he's so creepy in the movie. Like, there are scenes where he's like singing, and it's just like he's staring at people throughout the movie at times. And it's just really, really creepy and just so disturbing. And honestly, at times, I kind of thought about laughing. But I tried to hold it back because there were a lot of people in this theater and I had no idea what anyone else was thinking. And also, like, even though this is a musical, like, they open with a musical number and they just stop for like 20 minutes. There's no number in between. It just felt like, at times, like in the beginning, we're like, wait, this was a musical, right? And yeah, then it just becomes a musical for the rest of the movie. It just feels awkward. Yeah, I really didn't care for this movie. And while watching this movie, I kind of thought to myself a couple things. One, this movie could have worked. You could keep all the drama and even some of the numbers. But maybe just change the perspective. Maybe you could have put it from the perspective of Caitlin Deaver's character. because her story, I feel, is a lot more tragic and a lot more upsetting. I feel like from her angle it would have been more interesting. Or you could have done this from... You could still have everything the way it is, the awkwardness, the music, and pretty much have Evan Hansen as the main character, but make it a dark comedy. Because there are moments in this movie where I swear I would have started laughing if, you know, people were in the theater. And I don't know if they enjoyed it or not, we'll have to see. But it would have really worked if it was kind of a dark comedy. Like, I really wanted to laugh during this movie. I really did. And it's like, instead of being The Perks of Being a Wallflower, the musical, it was Collateral Beauty, the musical. Remember that movie with Will Smith, Edward Norton, Kate Winslet with Time, Love, and Death? That movie which tried to market itself as this emotionally manipulative movie. And when you watch the movie, you see the actual plot and realize how horrible it is. That's this movie. It's a musical that's like that. When you see it, when you put the pieces together, it's just horrible. The characters are awful. The music is just average, and it just sounds so similar to each other. Like, every song just sounds the same. Like, I can't really tell the difference between any of these songs. The tonal shifts are uneven. It's so awkwardly set up. It honestly could have been a dark comedy, and I probably would have enjoyed it a lot more if it was. And every subject matter that is brought up in this movie, it's all just scraping the surface. It's never really fully addressing anything. It has so much on its plate that it doesn't even finish it. There's just too much here. This movie's 2 hours and 17 minutes. This is way too much for a movie like this. Did the musical work? I'm really curious. Like, are fans of the musical going to enjoy this movie? Because I don't know if I'll enjoy the musical after watching this movie. It's so bad. It's really bad. I hated a lot of this movie. I really can't say anything more than get help, dear Evan Hansen. I'll go really low on this one. I'm going to give it 1 out of 4 stars. Skip it. Man, did I hate this movie. I really hated this. Not as much as music. But this is close. So, what did you think of Dear Evan Hansen? The movie, or the musical, whichever one. Also, what is the worst movie based on a musical? Or what's the worst musical movie you've ever seen? Whatever it is. Comment down below, subscribe to the channel. This is Pat, and